Hey guys, so in this video I'm going to be reviewing 2 Point Horror books, and I read these both very recently. Well, actually I finished The Fever just last night, but I'm going to start off by talking about The Train. And The Train I actually liked more than The Fever. I mean, they both had kind of good creepy settings, but The Train, there was just something about the way it was written. They're both written by Diane Ho, who's one of my favourite writers for Point Horror. I seem to favour her books over some of the other writers. But The Train, yeah, basically it follows this girl called Hannah and her group of friends. And they are travelling from Chicago to San Francisco in a school trip. And whilst they're travelling on this train, they find out that there was a coffin in the cargo hold containing someone that they know, someone that they went to school with, who wasn't particularly well liked, and they all kind of sit around telling stories about this boy and how basically their horrible experiences with this boy. And then after that, some horrible things start to happen on the train. A lot of her friends and students start getting injured, and a lot of spooky things start happening. But it mainly centres around this girl called Hannah, who becomes very, very freaked out and is kind of determined to figure out what is happening, what is going on. And this book had some great atmosphere. It did feel very creepy, and it felt kind of rushed in a way that you wanted to know what was going to happen and who the killer was. It was a little bit predictable, I will say that. I did kind of guess what was happening further towards the end, but that didn't really take away any of the experience for me. I still found it very enjoyable, a little bit cheesy in parts, but overall I think this was a really good Point Horror read. This would be great to read if you're on a train journey. That would be super creepy on a train journey, or travelling somewhere, maybe for going away around the, well, I was going to say Christmas time. It's getting near winter now, so around the autumn and winter time this would be a great read to read while travelling. It's very atmospheric and creepy. I do feel like it could have ended maybe a chapter sooner than it did. It dragged on a little bit and I was like, okay, come on now, you know, it needs to be concluded. It's not a long book. It's only, how many pages? It is 164 pages, so it's not a long book. I read this like in 1 to 2 sittings, but yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I love the front cover as well. It was super creepy with the little skeleton hand kind of coming around the door. But yeah, it was really well written. Obviously some silly things happen in it, but that kind of has to happen to progress the story. But overall I think this was a great little horror read. It was good. I really enjoyed it. So then I will move on to The Fever. And like I said, it's also written by Diane Ho. And The Fever, I did enjoy. I love this cover, by the way. It's really creepy. I love covers like this, these old covers. I wish they still did horror books and these kind of imagery. But yeah, the story was good. It took me longer to finish because I felt like, I mean, I kept getting distracted and putting it down, so I think maybe that took away a little bit of the atmosphere of the story. I think if I had been able to read it in one full sitting, it would have been creepier. It's basically about this girl called Duffy who is stuck in a hospital because she has a very high temperature, fever. And she hears things. One night when she's trying to go to sleep, she hears these suspicious noises and she wants to know what's happening. And then all of these awful things start happening to her. She starts getting attacked in horrible ways. I will say the way the attacks are described in this book are quite graphic, and some of them are quite gruesome. There's 2 times in this book, she gets attacked several times, but there's 2 particular times in this book that I found kind of gross to read about. But it was good. It was very creepy. Yeah, she's trapped in this hospital, and just the idea of being trapped in hospital, and everybody thinks she's just going crazy. Nobody believes her when she says all this crazy stuff is happening to her. They all just blame it on the fever, and it's like, no, it's just your fever. You just need to, you know, get better. You know, even her friends, they're not really convinced about what's going on. She has to, you know, she's really pushing to try and get them to understand what's happening to her, but no one's really paying any notice. Even her parents, which I think is quite which was a little bit of a bizarre aspect of this book. Her parents don't feature a whole lot in this book. I mean, she is like a young teen, so it kind of baffles me why her parents wouldn't be paying her more attention. It seems to be more her friends that are visiting her and hanging around with her. But nevertheless, it was a good read. Like I said, I preferred The Train, but The Fever was a good book. The Fever would be a horrible book to read if you were actually in hospital and you were looking for a horror book to entertain you to pass the time. Don't read The Fever because it'll probably just freak you out. I don't like hospitals. I have stayed over in a hospital for about a week before and it was just a horrible experience. Unfortunately, it was whilst I was in labour, that's why I was in hospital for a week. But it was horrible and I hated it. So reading about someone who is trapped in a hospital and can't get away is just pretty horrifying to me. But yeah, I feel like the reasoning for what's going on is a little bit silly, but it was good. It was very creepy, and yeah, I don't want to say too much as to give too much of the story away, but I would both highly recommend them. If you are a point horror fan, these are both of these books are definitely worth a read. I did enjoy them both. They're probably some of the favourites I've read so far out of my collection, as well as, you know, the camp ones that I enjoy. But yeah, overall that's pretty much all I have to say. I don't think I have much more. I would say they're both pretty much 4-star reads for me. You know, they're not perfect, but they are kind of, you know, kids' horror books, so they're not going to be too in depth and too scary. But yeah, overall I enjoyed them. Wow, look, £2.99. You can't get books that cheap anymore, can you? I bought these off of eBay second hand. But yeah, overall that's everything I have to say on these books. Yeah, 4 stars, recommend them both. Both very creepy, both had great atmospheres and pretty gripping stories. So that's all I have to say. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments down below. If you have any point horror or horror books in general, if you have any horror recommendations for me, please leave them in the comments down below. And yeah, tell me what horror books you like to read. So as always, thank you for watching, and until next time, bye guys.